Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at it again, and despite the fact that it's been less than a week since we uploaded our kit videos, breaking down all of the new Cyberpunk units in Wuthering Waves' 3.4 collab, there's actually more. There's more playable units. There's another new character that's actually coming out, and you might have been ganked by this one. You might have not seen it coming, but Lucilla's actually coming out in like 3 days. Kind of like 2, actually, in North American time, where I am. Or really, no, time zones, they all work like that. Yeah, it's in like 2 days for everybody. And so they've got her kit, and they've also got, well, her Resonator preview with all like the materials, and then her combat showcase as well. So we're going to be going through all these different materials piece by piece, starting off with the combat showcase, and then we'll go ahead, we'll get on into her kit, because Lucilla she feels like the afterthought. Yeah, she kind of feels like the afterthought of the patch from the perspective of, like, good golly gee, she's been a bit overshadowed. However, I think she's still bringing a lot to the roster. Let's see what she's doing in this showcase over here. All right, let's see what we got. Okay, yeah, no, I'm not gonna lie. They kind of went all out for this intro, bro. You can see, like, this is straight up, like, the art style. Guys, this is like some Marvel comic book level shit. Like, Jesus Christ, they really... I don't know what this is, but it looks expensive. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. This might be the, this might be the highest budget one that they've... Sorry. Yeah, this might be the highest budget one that they've done for the 2D side. I will say, though, this kind of does give me the vibes that she's a bit of like a LARPer. Yeah, she's a bit of like a LARPer, to be honest, because, like, she's, like, out here pretending to, like, do all of this shit, but then all she does is just sit at the academy and just, like, in her office and do a whole lot of nothing. Like, I'm gonna be honest, this has to be the most insane LARPing I've ever seen, because we never see her do anything like this, right? Like, they just, like, watch a movie and then, like, pretend they're James Bond. I'm sorry, it just, like, I get it because she's kind of like the film person and she watches a ton of movies and stuff, but, like, bro, this is, like, you know she doesn't do shit like this. Like, you know, like, she kind of gives you, like, lazy vibes, and, like, oh, what's the least that I can do to get stuff done? I don't know what it is. Like, she seems like a sedentary person.
Field work. Love it.
Liar. Bro, we ain't ever seen her do shit. Also, quick question. Isn't she a rectifier user? That's a gun. Bro, why'd you have to turn the rectifier into a gun? Like, and then again, we already have 3 pistol characters in Lahai Roy. They probably just didn't want a 4th like this. Yeah, no, that's just confusing, though. Hey, by the way, yeah, Wuthering Waves is a game with pistols, swords, gauntlets, rectifiers. This is a rectifier user. All right.
Say cheese. Perfect lighting.
That's kind of cool. She does like a little. It's like Virgil, but like it's like Virgil, but like an Instagram girl. Like this is like instead of judgment cut, it's like judgment shot or something. Let's see that again. Let's see that again real quick.
Perfect lighting.
I'm sorry. It's just, I know it's supposed to look like cool and stuff, but it seems like a little bit goofy to me because I know where they're drawing the inspiration from, and it's just crazy, right? When, like, this is like a dude with like a katana slashing like 100 times, and like now it's like someone taking a bunch of photos really fast and dealing a ton of damage. How does she damage? She freezes enemies when she takes a photo of them. That's why she's Glacio. Now she's got a Sandy too. That did actually look like the animation.
Not bad. Come on, get in shot.
And I guess this is the tacit mark animation. Let's check it out. Let's check it out. Very, very really. It was mid. I'm sorry. It was. This is not nearly as good as like any of the ones we've had before. I'm gonna be honest. This one was kind of just. I'm bored of this one. You wanna know why I'm bored of this one? It's just real, and then real, and then real, and then more reels, and then the reels come together to make a tacit mark made out of reels. That's her thing. I get that, but like, it's just one thing the whole time. I don't know. I feel like they could have done a lot more when her thing is like memories, photos, all of that. I don't know. You could have like had like a collage of like her life all like blending together in like, you know, the film reel expands out. You see the collage of her life and then it all goes together into like one tacit mark. Instead, it's just a bunch of blank fucking reels. Like this. Wait, yeah. Why did they just use this to make her tacit mark? Look, you could see it on her liberation. I'm saying shit like this. Instead, it's a whole lot of nothing. But yeah, I do like her ultimate animation because of this. So yeah, her ultimate animation does kind of save it, but wow, what a boring ass tacit mark. I like this.
Take shape. I protect all that I have.
I know that looks sick, but once you see how you do that in game, you're gonna be like, oh, that's how you do it? But yeah, she basically has like one of those sub DPS kits where she happens to have a form switch. And then the second form over here, yeah, I know it looks crazy, but like, yeah, no, her rotation in this form is like really, really, really fast. All right, now we got her showcase.
Time to consider there's a mole on the inside, Madam President. What are you doing here?
I've always found her voice to be like a little... Her voice is like almost like a little bit too, like, almost a little bit too caretaker-y. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of almost expect her to be like more like momly for like a voice like that. It's like, I don't really know. It's like, yeah, it's almost like too motherly of a voice.
Little one?
Yeah, especially when she going around doing, when she go around looking like that and doing shit like this. Yeah, no, I'm gonna be honest. Most people would be concerned if like their actual mother was going around doing shit like this. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be real. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they could have gone with more of like a Cantarella-y sort of voice. But then again, like when you get like the whole student vibe, maybe that's not what they wanted. No, you know what? I think it's fair. I think it's fair. Now that I've raised the various tropes and the various the weight of certain things in my head, maybe this was the best. Maybe this was the best way to go for it. Anyways, that's gonna be your showcase. I'm personally of the opinion that most of like the cool stuff was with like the 2D animations over here, and I wasn't actually as like impressed with the rest of the showcase. But the stuff that they did at the start, oh no, this is above and beyond. No, they ain't never done the 2D like this before. But maybe that's the point. This is supposed to be the best part of her showcase. But yeah, that's gonna be Lucilla's combat showcase. As you saw, she doesn't actually have that many moves. And that's, I think, to be intended because she's a bit more of a sub DPS, much more simpler kit than what we've had in the past. And now we're gonna be taking some of the time out of our day to, well, see exactly what she does. So, first things first. For Lucilla's kit, here are going to be some of the baseline details. Like I said before, she's going to be Glacio. That's why she takes pictures of her enemy. You know, freeze! Takes the photo and then damages them. She's going to be a rectifier user, despite the fact that, yes, she utilizes a gun. And then her essential materials, you're probably going to be very happy about this, especially compared to the Cyberpunk units. You can farm all of them right now. This is from Hivatia. This is from Demir Plains, Forget Me Not. Very, very, very ironic when you know Lucilla's story. She doesn't remember her childhood because that's how her forte works. And then her upgrade materials, Met Core, Splice String, and Denya. So, yeah, everybody should have a pretty firm baseline of how to get this character up and running. Because, yeah, she's coming out soon, and you've got the time right now to actually spend all your weight plates. So that's good to go. Combat rolls, and this is where stuff's gonna get crazy. Compared to efficiency, so a fast rotation, short rotation time, and not as much damage. Basic attack damage, that's in one of her forms. Echo skill damage in her other form, and then Glacio Chafe in all of the forms, and then Echo skill damage amp in one of her other forms. So basically, she's got two roles. She's like a slightly different Chu Yan in Chu Yan's ability to buff Echo skill damage, but she doesn't do exactly what he does. Has some slight differences in her kit, and some additional weaknesses and some strength as well. But basically, she kind of fills in the role of an echo skill damage amplifier like him. When we have 3 echo skill damage dealers in the game, it kind of does help round out the other team. Most people are going to be using her with Forlova. On the other hand, her other role is going to be, well, you probably guessed it from Glacial Chafe, she's going to be a Hiyuki support, right? And this is one of the more lore-friendly teams we've had in the game. We all know that Hiyuki and we all know that Lucilla, they hang out a bunch, right? So having that team kind of like ready to go, we've been waiting on Lucilla's Glacial Chafe applier, Hiyuki's Glacial Chafe applier for quite some time. So this is when she's going to be coming out. So yeah, very specialized use case. The Glacial Chafe mode is like only for Hiyuki and it has no uses elsewhere. And then the Echo skill damage form, right, is only for the same type of characters that Chuyan supports. So there are kind of like some prerequisites for getting this unit up and running, but there's also some benefits as well. Because if you don't have Chuyan, but you have echo skill damage dealers, then that's where stuff starts getting very, very, very value-oriented and a little bit spicy. But vice versa as well. Her value depends on your account, and we'll be talking about everything that she can do. So now, let's get into her normal attack over here. Snapshot. So, this is just a 3-stage, I do believe so, basic attack. I don't really think you're going to be doing too much with it over here, despite the fact that she's a basic attack damage dealer. Then, she's also going to have another animation as well, where you can see over here, she kind of like holds down on the camera button and does a basic attack that also is a bit of a charged attack as well. So those are the 2 different ones that she has. You can see what's going on here. Now for her resonance skill, and do keep in mind this is the simplified version. We'll get into the complicated stuff later. She's got 2 forms of her resonance skill. One is just like a very, very, very simple fast cast that really you shouldn't be using, while the other one is an enhanced form called Spotlight, where she's got to do a bit of a charge, deploy the ring, and then once she does, right, she'll be able to cast an enhanced resonance skill that deals increased glacial damage, restores Forte, and then when you see her inherent skill, this version of her resonance skill also applies buffs to her team. So you kind of want to use the version that's like slightly longer to activate because it's going to have a bigger payoff for you. But yeah, you can see she's got 2 different forms. Kind of like the charged inputs to kind of vary up the moveset a little bit. Both on her basic and her resonance skill. Now you can have her resonance liberation, clear as day. And this is where she does a bit of a form switch and a very, very, very simple description. Deal glacial damage and enter the enhanced state. But there's a catch to this liberation. It requires no ER. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, she kind of operates a little bit like a Forlova. Entering this form costs no energy. She is a 0 ER character. The first sub DPS in the history of the game that requires 0 ER. And she can also use Forlova's set. But will you want to? We'll see. All right, so now basic attack, enhanced state. So you can see over here, she has a 3rd hit of her basic attack chain that essentially performs consecutive attacks and just repeatedly casts basic attack stage 3. This is like, again, she's basically like Virgil, but with photos. She's like an Instagram girl. This is all the basic attack 3 hitting multiple times, and then this is her finisher attack at the end of it. And you'll see how this interacts with the rest of her kit when you look at her Forte. At a baseline, her kit is like not anything very crazy at all. You're essentially going to be just doing a couple of these moves to build up her resource to activate this liberation, and then I think you like just hold the basic attack button and you'll do all of these attacks. She might be one of the easiest units in the game, but we'll see. Now we've got the Forte Circuit Memory Palace, and this one's gonna have a couple of parts. If you're familiar with Verena from Gensito Impacto, well, you'll see a little bit of this over here. She can take photos. And during this form, right, anything that you kind of like take within like your grasp, all of that, reverberations, blah, 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 you can take photos of them and collect them. It's actually stronger than Verena's because you can take photos of like the floating stuff. Or sorry, Nahida. They're both like midget plant things with shit growing out of their body. I don't fucking care. All right. And you can see over here, yeah, you can use it in a bunch of different contests. And I think you also have like a, yeah, you kind of go into first person mode a little bit over there. That's a short Forte. That's because in the simplified version of the kit that Kuro Games decided to show, they just eliminated like 90% of the shit that her kit does. We'll get back to this later. Don't worry. And now, intro skill. Clip it. This is going to be the same across both her forms. She has an Echo skill form and a Glacial Chafe form. I already talked about it. She will always inflict Glacial Chafe. It will always occur. Do keep that in mind. This is no matter the form, it always occurs. At least on this intro skill. And that's going to be important for one main reason. Because the weapon effect of Lucilla's weapon, we'll talk about this one later, requires you to inflict Glaciochafe. Even in her Echo skill form, she needs this. And this is going to be one of the big differentiators that separates this unit from Chuyan. Because Chuyan, in some ways, can have like better or worse buffs than her, depending on how you're operating. So yeah, that's just a little thing that I wanted to talk about over there. No matter what form she is, she applies a debuff. And when you know that some TOA floors require a debuff to disable some of like the defenses that the enemies have, very, very, very good. Now, we got our outro skill, and this is where it makes it abundantly clear how our different forms are going to be working. When in Glaciochafe form, Glaciochafe damage against targets within a certain range is amplified. This operates just like Denya, just like Chakota, and I do believe just like Phoebe. Because if you've ever taken the time to look at those echoes, or look at those outro skills on the negative status amplifiers, it's very, very, very interesting. Okay, shut up. Okay, you're dead. You can see over here, Denya's got the 60% fusion burst amplification in an area around her for 30 seconds. Lucilla's probably going to have the same thing. And Chakona operates in a very, very, very similar way, but she's got 100% amp for 30 seconds. You get what's going on here. And then Phoebe, in her confession mode, dog shit, right? 100% spectrofrazzle amp. So we'll see just how much Glaciochafe's going to get. Glaciochafe's probably on the stronger end of negative statuses, so we'll probably get a 60% to be more like Denya. Now, on the other hand, when in resonance mode Echo, grant Echo skill damage amp to the incoming resonator. Ladies and gentlemen, I can confirm to you that her Echo skill or her outro skill is literally a carbon. It's a carbon copy of Chuyan's, but it doesn't do this 100% damage tick. That's it. It's literally like the same fucking thing. They actually almost like reprinted it completely. So yeah, that is something to keep in mind over there. Now we got the combat guide. Woohoo! Grant damage bonus to all resonators in the team. When in resonance mode Glaciochafe, inflict Glaciochafe and boost Glaciochafe damage. And when in Echo skill teams, boost Echo skill cast and deal more Echo skill damage. Kind of clear, kind of obvious, makes sense considering she's a sub DPS that supports both archetypes. Now though, this is where we gotta start getting into the advanced kit overview. And this is gonna require a lot more breakdowns. So her forte is where shit really got skipped a lot. It got skipped a lot. So let's talk a little bit about how this one works. So first things first, Lucilla holds 3 photos. Photos are how Lucilla casts her liberation. She holds up to 0, and clear as day consumes no resonance energy, and it unlocks when she holds all 3 photos. So to get the photos, it's very, very, very simple. Every 50 photos restored generates 1 trace. So she has a 150 limit forte bar, 150 points to trace, and then you gain 100 points from using your intro, so you get 2 photos right there, 50 points when using her resonance skill Spotlight, the charged one, right? And then 50 points when she uses her charged basic attack, and then 25 points when she uses her regular skill, or 25 points when she uses her baseline skill. So it's kind of obvious how you get her ultimate. You intro skill in, and then get 50 points from doing 2 of these, or 1 of either of these, and then it's ready to go. Yeah, most people will just intro, then hold E. And you want to know why you want to hold E and not do any of these other things? Very simple. It's because of her inherent skill up here. When Focus Ring is deployed from holding down Lucilla's skill, she gains the following effects based on her mode. In Glaciochafe mode, Glacial Res reduced by 8%. Yeah, you really want to use this ability, right? Because it's going to improve your damage. And when you're in Echo Skill mode, 25% Echo Skill damage bonus to the entire team for 30 seconds. So you can kind of see why you want to use this hold skill, because you gain a 30-second damage buff to your entire team, depending on which mode you're in. So yeah, you're probably seeing now how a rotation works. Intro, hold the skill over here to use Spotlight, and pretend the rest of this shit does not exist. However, there's another bit of a bonus over here, and that's going to be this mechanic called Film Roll and this mechanic called Zoom. This is one of the most worst written fortes in the game, because essentially over here, it'll say that she has 4 stacks of Zoom max and then 1 stack of Film Roll, depending on which role she is in. Basically, when she's in Glaciochafe form, she generates Film Roll, which is like the way that she busts Glaciochafe teams. When she's in Echo skill mode, she generates Zoom. And it says over here, max 4 stacks for this one, then max 1 stack for this one. And her second inherent skill just says, oh yeah, by the way, it's actually 10 stacks and 4 stacks. Why the fuck would you write that the max is 1 and 4 here, then just say in the inherent it's 10 and 4. Why not just put it's 10 and 4 here? And just, like, do you see how kind of retarded this is? I don't even know why you would do this, because it's not like what period of time is a player gonna have where they don't have her inherent skill? Maybe if they're new to the game and they'll be like, man, can't wait until my Lucilla's level 80. I'm gonna unlock her true powers. Maybe it's a sequence node thing. No, it's not. It's on her inherent. If this was on her sequence node, I would understand. But the fact that it's her inherent skill just means this is in her baseline kit at S0. So yes, don't read this shit. She gains 4 stacks, but the max is really 10. And she gains 1 stack of zoom, and the max is really 4. And so you might be wondering, okay, what does film roll do? What does zoom do? Let's see here. So film roll does this, and this is only in her Glacial Chafe teams. When somebody other than Lucilla inflicts Glacial Chafe, she consumes 1 stack of film roll to inflict Glacial Chafe 2 times on nearby targets. So anytime it's inflicted once, she inflicts it 2 times and consumes one of her film roll stacks. And remember, she's got 10 total. Pretty good. And then zoom is going to increase the crit damage of the active resonator's echo skills by 10%. So this can stack up to 40%. 40% echo skill damage, crit percent, or crit damage of echo skills. This is where she kind of starts differentiating a bit from Chuyan. A lot of her buffs have started looking a little bit similar, but she actually has weaker buffs than Chuyan. Chuyan, for example, provides 30% echo skill damage on his long-lasting one. On intro, she's actually only got 25. She's actually only got 25. And Chuyan straight up just increases the crit damage of everything. All the damage on the team by 30%. Lucilla, on the other hand, only increases crit damage of echo skills by 40. Do you see the difference of how these two characters kind of operate, how they work? Lucilla's got slight differentiations, but a lot of similarities. But because of how she operates, there are some units that are, well, a little bit worse, a little bit better for her. And because of this, in some ways, you might want to use her with a Sagrika instead of a Furlova. But I'll talk about why you might actually want a Furlova later on. Now, you've seen how this operates over here, right? And we all know that the stack limit is actually a lot higher than what it shows over here. And you might be wondering, okay, how do I get more stacks of zoom? How do I get more stacks of film roll? And it's very, very, very simple. So Oblivion is a mechanic that triggers whenever Lucilla is using the 3rd form of her ultimate's basic attack chain. And this is the attack that we're talking about over here, where she's holding down the button and then she kind of does the Virgil slashes, but with photos. This is stage 3, and you see it hits a bunch of times. Basically, every single time that stage 3 hits, she consumes a photo. Remember, she's got 3 of them to perform Oblivion. And that deals 1 instance of glacial damage, but then also has some other bonuses as well. When she's in Glacial Chafe form, it's considered basic attack damage, and then inflicts 1 stack of Glacial Chafe on the target. And then when she's in Resonance Mode Echo skill form, it's considered echo skill damage, and then each cast of Oblivion, remember she's got 3 of them, it's considered casting a different echo skill. So this is kind of the breakdown of that. She now synergizes with every single unit that wants echo skill casts on their team. Like a Galbrena, she wants a couple of echo skill casts, right? And also well, you probably guessed it over here, Furlova, who wants echo skill casts, as well as where the fuck is this little midget? Sagrika, who also wants echo skill casts. Basically, just like Chuyan. But this is kind of I think the realization that most people will have is that it looks a lot easier to cast her echo skills over here. It looks a lot easier to cast these ones, right? Because it looks like she's almost invulnerable, right? Compared to Chuyan, who is way more hittable during his animations. So, yeah, this might be the different approach that they're having. I think she might actually have a longer rotation potentially than Chuyan. Who knows? But she's clearly a lot more safe when she does her damage. And, of course, casts those echo skills. So it might be better for certain lineups. But this is another bonus. Each time Lucilla consumes photos, she gains 2 stacks of film roll and 1 stack of zoom. So basically, she'll generate 6 stacks of film roll, cap it out at 10, or 3 stacks of zoom from consuming her 3 photos. That's going to be her kit. I'm not even joking. That is basically her kit. And I just got ganked by some music too. That even Kuro Games knows this is done. Do you guys see how easy she is to use? Possibly one of the easiest units in like the game to understand. I feel like we've gone over basically everything, but there's a couple more caveats over here that we need to talk about. Her resonance skill kind of like operates in this way. We all know you got to hold it down. There's actually a QTE involved. So if you miss it, she'll reduce the cooldown of her skill by 8 seconds so you can try to cast it again. That's basically the only thing. Yeah, that's basically the only thing. It's a QTE because if you miss it, you'll have to recast it because the ability won't go off. That's why this one is called compensate. So there you go. But yeah, her liberation is also going to have some slight differences to it. So essentially, depending on the form that she's in, she gains a different damage bonus. When she's in Glacio Che form, her damage is considered basic attack damage. So this is where you really got to think about, if you're trying to maximize her DPS, what kind of substats you actually got on your build. Because most people are probably doing something like this, where they've been building their Hiyuki, doing all of this stuff, right? And they naturally got a Wishes of Quiet Snowfall set, kind of like prepared for Lucilla. If you don't have this, I think you're fucking up real bad, because this is Lucilla's set when she's in Glacio Che form, because it buffs the Glacio damage and it also improves her own Glacio damage. So this is perfect for a Hiyuki, right? And essentially, you want to make sure that for whichever pieces you're running on this set, you got that, well, basic attack damage, and you also don't got any ER. This is, for example, might be a good little piece for me to use with my Lucilla over here. We got a cool little Iron Hoof with a basic over there and stuff like that. And I guess on the, I guess I might just use this one as well. I know it's got, I know it's not got the bonuses, but it doesn't have ER, and we all know we don't need that shit. So it's like, yeah, I just hope, like this over here, Lucilla God Roll. No ER needed. And unfortunately, this one does have ER, but I ain't going to say no to substats like that, right? So I just hope that you got some stuff ready to go. For example, like, this is a good Lucilla piece. It's a good Lucilla piece, but it's got the ER. I'm going to have 120%. I'm not going to be mad, though, because it's like, yes, overcapping on ER is going to suck, but I have a day one set ready, and I don't need to grind for her at all. Also, keep in mind, you want the Glamoth, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, no, this is going to be the kind of annoying part. You really do want a Glamoth ready to go. And the reason for this is simple. The Glamoth actually gives a 12% glacial damage increase to the incoming resonator. So do keep that in mind. You want one of these bad boys. I might have to actually go grind one, though. Yeah, because I don't have a double crit Glamoth. Well, my Hiyuki has one, right? My Hiyuki has one. But then I gotta go get an alternative piece for her. So I'm gonna go figure out the gearing of the situation over here. Just know that you need one of these if you're on this set. And remember, basic attack damage rules. However, though, Resonance Mode Echo is where stuff gets a little bit complicated, because you actually got options, and it's also a little bit fucked up how her stuff is gonna work. So when she's in Resonance Mode Echo, her clear as day ultimate damage, right? She gains a 30% Echo skill damage bonus, and she's got 0 ER. This makes things a little bit complicated for her, because she's kind of got like 2 roles. One where she decides to be like a buffer. Law of Harmony will work on her 1,000,000%, and she will fully stack up this Echo skill damage bonus. She will take it all the way up to its 16%. However, you can kind of see the first part of this is not very good on her. So if you want her to be an Echo skill damage buffer for the team, guys, unfortunately, you will have to, like, use Law of Harmony and just lose this 30% heavy attack damage bonus, because this bitch don't deal heavy attack damage. She deals just straight Echo skill damage. However, that means she's also going to benefit more from these bonuses over here. Yeah, this 16% Echo skill damage that ramps up, she's actually going to be getting that. But there's another thing about Law of Harmony that's a little bit interesting. You might have noticed it, because there's one 4-cost Echo that actually shows up on Law of Harmony. And you're going to be like, oh, what the fuck? Wait, we're actually going back there? Yeah, it's going to be Dream of the Lost, ladies and... Like, are you ready for this shit? Y'all remember the Forlova set? Wait. Does this drop Law of... Oh, it doesn't. Oh, whoopsies. No, this one shows up on Law of Harmony. Oh, yeah, no, I thought it was the other way. I thought Nightmare Hikari dropped this thing. No, this is the other set that Forlova can use, or this is the other set that Lucilla can use. You either use Law of Harmony and drop and lose this 30% heavy attack damage bonus, and it sucks, but then gain the buffing ability, or you use Dream of the Lost, where, like, she actually does benefit from all of this. But remember, guys, Lucilla is like a sub DPS. So this is like running a DPS set on your sub DPS character. But that's a lot of crit rate. That's a lot of echo skill damage bonus. And well, guess what, guys? Nightmare Hikari is kind of a good echo too. I know it's not glacial damage though, which might be a little bit annoying, but Nightmare Hikari is kind of strong. Okay, let me see here. What does that even do? It's been a while since I looked at it. Yeah, 12% havoc damage and 20% echo skill damage bonus. So yeah, Lucilla would get 55% echo skill damage bonus. That goes up to like 70 because of some of her effects. I think it goes up to 80 because of some of her effects. That's a lot of damage bonus. And so, yeah, it's kind of like, yo, Dream of the Lost over here. And then I guess you might want to go for like some glacial pieces or something like that, because that kind of like seems like her best overall option, right? I mean that's just generally what it seems like, because otherwise you're on like a combo of Law of Harmony or like Moonlit Clouds. Like, yeah, that's kind of it. It's like Law of Harmony, Moonlit Clouds, blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is, if you plan on using Law of Harmony, you're not going to be getting this. So it's a bit of a tragedy, but it is what it is. And that's why I'm saying that Lucilla has some like interesting variations over Chuyan that make her seem like a little bit weird, right? That make her seem like a little bit odd in how she operates. Most people, I guess, will probably just use Moonlit Clouds. We'll probably just use like Moonlit Clouds as like the set. And perhaps that's something that you can do. Another thing, right, is that if you're going to be doing like some Law of Harmony bullshit, or I guess even like fucking Dream of the Lost bullshit, you can just do this too. Where like people are saying, well, if you're using this 3-piece set of Law of Harmony or this 3-piece set of Dream of the Lost, well, for the 2-piece, you could just use like Real Splice Memories. Don't use this forecast, right? Because this is, well, shit, I guess you could use this as well, because this provides echo skill damage, oddly enough. But mostly like the Voidwing Moth over here, right? Because this thing provides a 12% attack bonus to the incoming resonator. So this could be very, very, very useful in echo skill teams. And again, Law of Harmony plus Real Splice Memories and this shit in the main slot could actually be decent. Honestly, this might be a tech you could do with like Chuyan or something. This actually not that bad. However, this does transform you, so do realize that. Yeah, it's not as easy to cast as other ones where you just summon them. But yeah, that's like another possibility. But as you can see, she doesn't feel as tightly designed on the echo skill side. That's what I'm gonna say. Her echo skill side doesn't feel complete, because it doesn't feel like she has like a proper Sonata set. If you're at the point where it's like 2026 and you're using Moonlit Clouds and that is like your best in slot, I feel like that's a little bit undercooked. Her Glacial Chafe side seems fine because, again, Wishes of Quiet Snowfall is like a modern set that makes sense and it looks good, especially with the active echo skill it has. But her echo skill side is like, what the fuck is she like kind of supposed to use? Because I don't think her personal damage is going to be high enough to make Dream of the Lost worth it. Because she's a sub DPS, and like, I just don't think her damage is going to be up there. Especially with all the buffs that she has in her kit. But we'll see. She's going to have some other bonuses as well, when she's in Reminiscence. Interruption resistance increase, and of course, she's going to have completely different basic attack damage chains. We've all kind of seen them. She performs up to 3, and then the third one can be spammed. Letting it go is then the attack that she does afterwards. However, this is one of the bonuses over here. When it's in Resonance, or when it's in the Glacial Chafe form, that damage, the final hit from letting it go, is considered basic attack. When she's in Echo skill form, it's considered Echo. However, her basic attacks that she does, they're always considered basic. These ones aren't considered Echo skill damage even when she's in the Echo form. So that's kind of like it. She's also got a mitter attack and a dodge counter. Other than that, the rest of her kit is kind of just like her weird photo mechanics that you're probably never going to use. Just know that the third hit of her basic attack chain, it can be charged down just like her skill, but you're probably never going to do this unless you're in the overworld. So, yeah, nothing too crazy to talk about here. Other than that, her intro skill is going to be just attack the target, deal glacial damage, and inflict 1 stack of glacial chafe, which is necessary because her weapon effect requires you to inflict glacial chafe. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's as clear cut as it can probably get, guys. And when she's in Reminiscence, she gets a special intro skill. I don't know when you're ever going to do this, where you go off field and then intro skill in on her, but this maybe could be a thing in your quick swap teams where you run like Chisa, Lucilla, Hiyuki, and then you like quick swap between all 3. You might actually end up using this, but who knows? And then her outro, you can see it over here. 60% Glacial Chafe damage amp. Glacial Chafe kind of is at the same level as Fusion Burst then as a negative status. So, yeah, there you go. And when Resonance Mode Echo, 50% Echo skill damage. Like I said before, it's the exact same as Chuyan. So, now you're probably asking some questions. Now you're probably wondering, we've gone through and we've talked about pretty much every single characteristic when it comes to this unit's kit. It hasn't even been that long either. That's kind of just how simple she is. You pull her if you need an echo skill damage buffer, and then you pull her if you need a third teammate for Hiyuki. And this is kind of like the situation. If she was just a Hiyuki teammate, her pull value would 1000% be a lot lower, right? Because then she would only support just one DPS in the entire fucking game and pretty much virtually nobody else. Absolutely no synergy with anybody else on the roster. She would have some baseline Glacial buffs, but then she would kind of like end up as a Chakota, and Chakota isn't played as often anymore, right? The fact that she also supports echo skill damage teams is going to dramatically increase her use cases a lot, but Lucilla naturally is going to have a bunch of prerequisites and also basically like non-negotiables where you kind of need to not have another character unless you have a bunch of echo skill damage dealers. Because this is the thing. Lucilla is going to work with every single echo skill damage dealer in the game. This isn't like a circumstance where like she doesn't work with Galbreda or like she doesn't work with Frolova. No, she works with all of the echo skill damage dealers. So this isn't like a circumstance where it's like, oh, you got to like pick and choose. Chuyan does the same fucking thing though. So if you're in a situation where you have only one echo skill damage dealer, let's just say you have a Sigrika, and then you also have a Chuyan, it's a pretty terrible fucking idea to pull Lucilla. Pretty terrible goddamn idea because you'll now have two echo skill damage amplifiers, two buffers, but only one DPS. However, though, Lucilla becomes a much more appealing pull if you have one echo skill damage dealer and then you got another. And this is also the other caveat. You gotta really want to play all of these guys every single reset. Like, you gotta be paying for Lova and Sigrika or Galbreda in those echo skill teams with a Chuyan, and you gotta be playing them every single reset. Otherwise, if you're like seasonally playing your echo skill damage teams, you play them like once or twice a TOA cycle, is there a reason to have three of them fully ready to go, or like two or three of them fully ready to go? Because that's the main thing Lucilla's going to do if you have Chuyan, is let you play two echo skill damage teams at once. That might be really good for Wuthering Waves, right? Where the echo skill damage teams are kind of the best. But is that something that you're regularly doing in the TOA? Maybe, maybe not. And that's where the unfortunate part comes in. Linné is currently this unit, right? That in 3.3, Linné was the best in slot for 3 units, right? She was the best in slot for Luke Herson. She was the best in slot for Imith. And she was also the best in slot for Hiyuki. We all know that, right? So Linné was stretched thin between these 3 teams. That's because you wanted to play all 3 of them every single reset. Is there a universe, right, where somebody waits until 4.0 or late 3.7 or something like that, and now they're not playing Imith every reset? They're not playing Hiyuki every reset. And so Linné ends up only being used like once a reset anyways. Because guess what, guys? That's what happens as you get more and more characters. You got the Mengzhou or whatever region we're going to, right? Next update. The Yang Yang SP, all of that shit. Are you still going to be playing your Imith every reset, your Luke every reset, your Hiyuki every reset, right? Once we're in Mengzhou and all those new areas and you start pulling those new units. Because right now, guys, the last Echo skill character was 3.2. Then the one before that was 2.7, and then the one before that was 2.5. Pulling Lucilla for the echo skill damage teams right now is for like pulling units that were released, pulling for units that were released over a year ago. This ain't like pulling a Denya for a Linné, right? This ain't like pulling Lucilla to make Linné free for a Hiyuki. You're pulling Lucilla to make Chuyan free for a year-old DPS, so that he could go play with Sigrika or something. That's the situation that I really want people to be aware about. If they're pulling this unit for echo skill damage teams, and they already have Chuyan. Because chances are, in a couple of months from now, are you regularly going to be playing your echo skill teams every single reset 2 times? 2 whole ass teams every single side? Or are you going to move on to other teams, other modern lineups? Because guess what? I'm not using my Frolova very often in the TOA anymore because I got new characters to play with. I'm not using my Galbrina very often anymore in the TOA because I've got new characters to play with. I use them every once in a while, but not to the degree where I feel like I need 2 Chuyans to play them. I have all the echo skill damage dealers, and with the rate that I play them, he's enough to support every single time I need them. Because I'm not using them that often anymore because this unit's a year old. And that's kind of the situation, right? But this is the other reality over here, right? A lot of people are already saying Matrix. If you're pulling a whole limited unit so that you can get 8,000 points in end state Matrix, you're spending 160 plus pulls so that you can get 9,000 points in end state Matrix. A game where the cap ends at like 60k and that's already easily achievable. Go for it. I'm just gonna say, if this is your only reason, you're retarded as fuck. Because, like, to get 10 teams at 4K, what achievement requires 10 teams at 4K? There isn't one. 10 teams for... Where is this where is this mission? And if you're doing, anyways, if you're pulling a whole ass unit just to make one more team usable in end state Matrix, you are like a fucking idiot. That's probably the biggest thing that I can say, is that you are legitimately dumb. Because guess what, guys? You're pulling this unit not to get 5k. You're pulling this unit to get like 7, 8, 9k on your clear. Getting 5k on a clear with like a echo... If you need a Galbrina or a Frolova to get 5k on a clear, you don't need Lucilla on the team too. This is how I know the reasoning is stupid for end state Matrix. If you're trying to get 5k, Frolova and Galbrina can get it with 4-star characters. You're pulling a limited sub DPS to get the team to 5k clears? That's not real. It's not an actual reason. You're pulling this unit just to get one team to 8k, 9k, 10k. And that's a stupid ass reason to do that, because you don't need Lucilla to get any of the echo skill damage dealers to 5k. That's legitimately a joke. Good fucking God. All right, anyways. Now, though, let's get into the one situation where Lucilla might actually be a must pull on your account. And this is where I'm just going to be very frank and upfront. She's going to be very good here. Lucilla's good in this circumstance where you have Hiyuki. You got like an Imeth, you got like a Luke or something. Somebody that stretches your Lene thin, and you can pull Lucilla to free up Lene. So she's permanently going to be on the Imeth team. Or something like that, right? So that Denya can permanently be on the Luke team. And then Lucilla can permanently be on the Hiyuki team. And you don't even think about her echo skill side. That's a fantastic reason to pull her. Because then your Lene has her permanent spot with her Imeth. Denya has her permanent spot with Luke. And then Lucilla has her permanent spot with Hiyuki. If you're going for that reason, then the echo skill side doesn't even exist, and it's just a nice to have. But that's why I'm saying her echo skill side feels a little bit outdated, because all the DPSs that she's working with are kind of outdated. They're both like a year old almost, and then Sagrika's the only recent one. And guess what, guys? Sagrika actually works better with Chuyan because Sagrika buffs arrow damage. So it's kind of just like, I don't know, like, it's really just for Hiyuki. And that's the main reason. The other kind of good pulling situation is this. You really like the echo skill teams. You got like a Frolova or a Sagrika or a Galbrina, and you don't have Chuyan, and then you don't have Hiyuki. It's not a bad idea to pull Lucilla then as like a starter character for echo skill teams. If you were in the big 2026 and you had a choice between Lucilla or Chuyan, I'd probably tell you to pull Lucilla just because she has more roles. But my personal take is, for most players, having only one echo skill sub DPS is probably going to be all that you need. I don't think most people are going to need 2 until more echo skill damage dealers come out, because Galbrina's got mono fusion. Frolova don't even need any of these echo skill casters, right? Because she's already got Cantarella, and Sagrika's, naturally, like I said before, gonna work well with her, but a little bit better with Chuyan. And it's kind of like, if you wanted to start it off, I would go with Lucilla first instead of Chuyan in 2026. and then kind of like see how it expands from there. But if you're somebody right now where you already have Chuyan, your Lene isn't busy, I would skip this unit. If your Lene isn't busy, your Lene is already good with Hiyuki, just skip this unit. Because otherwise, she could be sitting there collecting dust on your account because she's just a Hiyuki. She's basically going to be just like a Hiyuki unit. And I think the echo skill side is a complete fucking afterthought for most people. That's my personal take. Because her kit is like a weird version of Chuyan that maybe like does a couple more things on field and has like a longer rotation. And the buffs are slightly worse, but maybe your personal damage is going to be higher. That's kind of like it. But for the Hiyuki stuff, oh, 100%. She could be one of the greatest assets that you have. But if you don't have Hiyuki and you don't have echo skill damage dealers, yes, this might be one of the worst units to pull in the history of the game. Not like a Lene, where she's always going to have uses, regardless. Lene, remember guys, generalist sub DPS that's usable on almost every team in the game. Lucilla is not that. Not even close to that. But she's going to support Hiyuki better than Lene will. And she will support echo skill teams better than Lene will. That's kind of like how it's going to work. But yeah, that's the situation over here, ladies and gentlemen. That's the kit overview. I know it was a bit of a long one, but I just wanted to make sure people knew all the ins and outs and what they're getting themselves into when it comes to this character. Let me know what you all thought. Peace out.